All right, folks, good afternoon and welcome on back here this Wednesday, June 2nd, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Welcome on back here for our afternoon meeting. Great to see all of our students live inside Cyber Group. Bonnie, Norman, Brian, William, Peter, Lewis, Lynette, Jean, and everybody else who I don't have the chance to scroll up and see. Welcome on back for all of us on social media. Same thing, right? Facebook Live, YouTube. Let's hop right into it. I would not be who I am if I didn't start by going over one of these, right? At least between AMC or the BlackBerry trade. There's so much that I could really start this meeting with. There's plenty of other runners that we've had from today, but I mean, geez, of course, everyone knows AMC at this point, but even from yesterday, BB BlackBerry was a lot more strong heading into yesterday afternoon. We knew that they were trading relatively similar. You know, the Reddit group Wall Street Bets pushing these up. Of course, plenty of others, like I just said. But man, AMC wasn't my personal focus today. You know, it was the focus for a lot of us live inside Cyber Group. It was going to freeze up my screen at 9:30. Thankfully, BlackBerry did not. And, you know, they made a relatively similar squeeze heading into the late morning, early afternoon. In fact, actually heading into the open here today with BlackBerry kind of tailing off, you know, as the market was opening up. Not for me to say that I was expecting a continuous drop all throughout the morning, but I knew that the first move here wouldn't be an instant breakout, a clean pop and run. I knew that it would take a little bit longer for that to happen. My best trade across the at least, you know, first hour of the market open was on this trade here right from 13.15. Got the short. Ended up taking some money off the table right around 12.70, 12.75 from there. And then, ended up coiling up. You could see this ended up, you know, moving back up over time, ended up popping with AMC as AMC broke its high of the day. I got to zoom in pretty quickly on this chart because the correlation here on the bottom of my chart doesn't even do it justice. I gotta actually just make this a bit bigger. If I turned over to the regular ticker AMC, like on my platform, like BB here, it would freeze up really fast. So I can't do that here for you folks. But you could at least see going into 11 o'clock, 11:30, when we ended up seeing AMC pop higher right from here, when it broke over, you know, seemingly resistance at 41. From that point, BB BlackBerry ended up making a squeeze off of 13, teasing the breakout from the opening bell print at 12.88, and then from there 13. Once it did that, that was it. Off and running she went. I ended up going long right from the opening bell print 12.88, then from there 13. I ended up doing a double position. Not really my I wasn't really trying to trade too many shares here today, at least. I got fortunate with the breakout. I took a couple of tiny losses before the eventual real pop on BlackBerry from that 13 level, but ended up doing it pretty well up towards 13.50, popped up much more than that, up towards 14. When AMC got halted, keep in mind, I mean, these two trade relatively similar, not carbon copy, not 100% correlation, but off of bigger squeezes, they will move together. So when AMC ran up so much in which it got halted, well, from there, that's when BlackBerry kept going up a little bit, popped over 14.20-ish, but on the reopen for AMC, we saw a nasty shake to the point where AMC got halted on the way down. Look what happened. BlackBerry made a nasty drop down with it, ended up building back up over time with the AMC trade. So again, not perfect, not 100% direct correlation, but off of bigger moves and pops that AMC makes, we tend to see BlackBerry at least follow AMC. At least more than AMC following BlackBerry here. You know, AMC making a lower high still. In fact, perhaps beginning to top off and pull back pretty nastily here, it seems. While BlackBerry's running, I mean, broke over 15 just now. A big 250,000 share iceberg just got filled. I know that Fausto pointed that out just before, you know, prior to starting this meeting. So, yeah, BlackBerry easily. I'm going to put this on our main list. And of course, that wouldn't be me without saying if this ends up tanking with AMC coming up in the next few moments or, you know, in the next hour and 20 minutes from now, the stock is still shortable. I took a short early this morning at the open on it. I mean, that was the right time to at least try that. But, hey, if this could break back down below 15, if we see a lot of selling, a lot of profit taking, if AMC dives with it, or if AMC goes first, I should say, then, you know, perhaps BlackBerry will tail with it. So we'll see. Either way, this is too strong to consider a short right now. That's why I'm just saying be mindful of AMC, be mindful of a false break from 15 here. Certainly doesn't seem like it's going to just nastily snap back down yet. So we'll see what happens off of 15.50 perhaps first, next 50-cent level. All right, so we had these two, which I covered. But aside from that, we had so much more. We had the skills trade, SKLZ. If I can, there we go. Good. Gotta take AMC off my screen here. I don't know if this is like kind of locking me up a bit. But yeah, Skills, SKLZ ended up making a nice squeeze similar to what we saw from AMC and BlackBerry. You know, stock went from roughly 18, sub 18, but broke from 18, ran 5 points up to 23. What else did we have here? I'm trying to go off the top of my head here. Mavis from William, not as much unless if that's really taken off like right now. But RKT, I know Bonnie wrote that in the chat board up above. That one's still pushing up beautifully. You know, this ended up making a nice pop going into 11 o'clock Eastern time. Never really looked back. Ended up pulling back towards 1850, and then you know, really from that point, ended up making the run. So you know, needless to be said, with RKT like BlackBerry, just at the highs, definitely put this on our main watch list for right now. Mavis, not so much. I ended up spoiling a profit on this trade. I hate to say it. I was up a lot on this stock. I still ended up getting 15 cents on the trade. I was up like 60. So, you know, from the morning, I ended up doing well. So it gives you the chance to play around, horse around a bit, maybe, you know, let some profit slip away. I mean, as long as you don't incur a loss to the point where money that was in your account is now lost and not from it. So, you know, as long as that doesn't happen, you're good. So, you know, ended up still taking about 15 cents as it shook back down here. Right now, this isn't in a great spot right now, William, the Mavis stock. You know, alongside Skills, though, Bed Bath Beyond, not BlackBerry. I get those two confused so quickly, but not BB, but BBBY, Bed Bath Beyond. This ended up making probably the biggest move, one of the biggest moves percent-wise across the whole day, at least from market open to right now. AMC is up 96%, mind you, but you know, that's also from yesterday's close. So nonetheless, BBBY ended up doing us really nicely here today. Took off from like 28, never really looked back from there as it topped off at like 43.50. Coiling up right now, just so I'm not really too interested in this trade just yet. You know, big spread, relatively more expensive now. Did really well in the Palantir stock from earlier today. This one threw me off, not today, but yesterday. Well, I guess you could say it threw me off to the point where I didn't trade it here, but it threw me off so much yesterday. I was expecting the run that we had today, just yesterday on Palantir. So it ended up kind of, you know, fooling me yesterday, and to the point where I didn't really follow this as much going into the mid to late morning. I guess my attention was also on, you know, BlackBerry at the time, but ended up squeezing up beautifully, popped from the 23 level I was looking at yesterday, ran all the way up towards near 25, topped off at 24.84. Pardon me. Yeah, for right now, though, I mean, hey, this still seems relatively active, not too volatile, good spread, good order book, not too expensive. I don't mind slipping this on our main list for right now alongside the BlackBerry and RKT. All right, Palantir. All right, quick water break. Let's go from top to bottom right now, though, folks. We had plenty of action otherwise. BTTX, not the warrant, but the stock here, number 2. This ended up making a really nice pop after the market opened. Took a little while, and actually, in fact, since I have the time right now, we don't really have class on coming up, no coaching here for this afternoon for me. Let me just do something really fast. I want to show you a side-by-side, and it's not carbon copy. It's just a matter of pattern recognition. So BCTX, we ended up seeing this stock like chop around really badly in pre-market. But going into the market open, this stock ended up breaking out over resistance at $6. And at the time, you just take my word for it, you can't really see. Oh, actually, 650. I'm sorry. This broke over 650. We ended up seeing some buying coming into that trade leading into the market open. So the hope would be, hey, maybe after the market opens, if history can repeat itself and we see a lot of buying coming in over 650, at 650, that this can make its run. Well, that's what happened here, right? Let's take a quick flashback to earlier this week, last week, whenever it was. VTNR. This is actually making a small squeeze up right now into the afternoon, but maybe I'll come back to it later on. This stock more so, though. Damn, do I have to go back a little bit more? I probably have to go back another day. Nonetheless, point being, this stock, VTNR, ended up making a very similar pattern from $6 here back 2 days ago. I think it was from Friday last week. We ended up seeing the stock take off from like $6 to $10 or something like that. Yeah, right here. Perfect. So took a little while. We ended up seeing a lot of buying coming in on this trade off of 6 in pre-market this morning. Ended up making a slingshot type of move here, which ended up leading to a nice rally. But the stock was pretty nasty heading into the mid to late morning, ended up snapping back down. Where I'm pointing to is right here. history ended up repeating itself here. It took a little bit longer this day on VTNR, but once it broke back over the same pre-market level that it was trading off of there, ended up making this huge rally later on. Well, BCTX ended up taking a little bit, shorter amount of time perhaps, but once it broke over its own pre-market buying level at 650, that was it. Ended up running up beautifully, right? So it's a little less than the day there, but nonetheless, maybe I'll get back to VTNR for this afternoon, seeing that squeeze up. The BCTX, unfortunately, did not continue to hold strong, ended up snapping back down. You know, we say this all the time. When the volume dies off, so does the stock. It's not just going to trade there like, a tight range and just flatten out, and that's it. So the stock's going to go one of two ways. It's going to, hold its own and, hopefully move up higher. But if it doesn't, you got to be on the lookout for that. Unfortunately, I had a trader end up jumping into this. I think it was off the false breakout from $8.30 level here. I was working with them earlier in a coaching session. Unfortunately, they told me they're in from 8:30. Great level. I mean, really strong level here. So they had their eye on the right level, the right entry actually even, but they didn't set their stop. They had a mental stop, so to say, and know what happens when that goes south. So ended up seeing this dive off quite a bit, and I think they're holding on as it was kind of down to 650 there. I hope it moves back up for that trader's sake, but for right now, to just be really honest with you, we've seen this song and dance quite frequently. Really, we have. I mean, for a stock that ended up making a big squeeze up, dumped back down, it actually ended up making a second win type of move here, but then fell flat again. It might make another one to the point where it gets up to like maybe 725. That would be like a nice target. I'm not going to try and hope for that, though. I think, if anything, the stock is pretty exhausted nonetheless. Stock's trading 136 million shares plus today. Prior to today, it was trading just over 1 million shares on average. So, I'd say pretty exhausted. All right, so I guess AMC I'll put on our quote-unquote watch list because, I'll tell you this much. I'm not going to trade AMC, but I'm going to watch it if I'm going to try and trade BlackBerry and the others. So I'll slip AMC on there, of course. BBBY, pretty choppy now. All right, we'll keep it going here. Pets. Wow, I ended up missing this too, I guess. I guess there's plenty others compared to what we ended up calling out. This pet stock ended up making a nice squeeze from like 30 up to 42, pop and drop roughly at the same time as BlackBerry and all the others. It's still holding its own, though, here, heading into the afternoon. So, you know what? Let me just check out the daily chart. I don't know if this is... It's not. I guess the stock ends up making like a pop and drop type of move back in the beginning of this year, but not an all-time high. I mean, sans that day, it's like right there at the last like major peak, right? So, not an all-time high, but I'm going to say that there's very little historical resistance to work with at a minimum. Maybe there's going to be some volume on the order book at 42, 43, whole numbers mainly. I'll come back to this. Not really my cup of tea in terms of price, but I'll keep this on the side, maybe come back to it at the end. What is more my cup of tea is this express trade. I mean, all the others so far as well, like Palantir, Rocket, BlackBerry, of course, those are all much cheaper in price. Especially this express trade ended up making a nice pop right off 11 o'clock Eastern time, off high the day from 5:30, ended up moving up towards, basically an 85, 90 cent move up towards 615, 620, nearly the high there. It's chopping around a bit here, but I don't mind slapping this on our list with the others, BlackBerry, Rocket, AMC, of course. If AMC makes some historic pop coming up, later on, then I would imagine, at least, not guarantee, but I would imagine that, BlackBerry, Express, perhaps some of the others as well that we have on our list will go in unison with it. You won. Unfortunately, the wheels fell off on this trade. Ended up making a really nice rally. Had thin tiers on level 2, thin order book, so kind of threw me for a loop in that regard. But held a really steady trend. Topped off right off of like 1350-ish, 1337. Snap back down, and again, same thing. When the volume dies off, so does the stock. So. Look at this thing. The AHT again ended up making another move up once again this morning, or well, after the open, ended up snapping back down after. Provided as a good short opportunity actually heading into the market open, given it was kind of trending down nicely. So this could have been a good short opportunity, believe it or not, after the market open, but that's not what we're here to talk about now, really. It's more so this rally heading into the early afternoon, breaking out off of 535, 530-ish here. Took off all the way up towards 613 just recently and pulling back. It's just very active, right? So it also is shortable. We'll look to see this potentially make a higher low from this point, snap back over resistance at 6, move up to the icebergs at 611, 612. That would be a loose thought. But if it doesn't do that, and if this goes with the others, perhaps, then it could be an interesting short opportunity. This and BlackBerry are the two stocks that are shortable so far, and maybe Palantir, PLTR. See what else we got. A bunch of familiar names here on the gainer side. Pretty interesting. Workhorse, SNDL, Nikola, Blue Apron, MGI. Like so many of these. Workhorse kind of trading in a range, certainly between like 1070 bottom, 1110 top here, and then 1125 the high of the day. Good side list stock, just not really doing it for me right now. Good EV play also, so maybe check out some of the others like Nikola, Neo, XPEV, etc. Oh my goodness, I got some chats here in Cybergroup from Mike and Norman saying the BlackBerry trade just broke out over 16. It just hit 1649, the high. Oh my goodness, it might get halted if it keeps going. I think this pullback off 1649, the high, prevented it from getting halted just now. We'll look at AMC and everything else just as a roundup by the end of this meeting. Man, I'll tell you, some of these EV plays also look good. Like Nikola didn't look too bad. Ride is still near the highs. I joked around when I said this, like I really was joking when I said this earlier. But now maybe not so much. I was like, we're going to have a 40 stock watch list here by 2:30. Right now we're at 6. Did a pretty good job keeping it simple. I'm pretty entertained by a lot of these trades, even if they're not on our watch list so far. Let's see what else we got, though. We'll hop over to the losers list. See what else we have. Eesh, ENG is down bad, huh? Big pot from yesterday, top percent gainer, one of them from yesterday morning. And I guess the news on this had to have been like direct offering, common stock offering of shares. That's my guess. I don't really care to check, to be honest with you. I want to focus on stocks that present like a much better tradable opportunity for us this time. Oof, one of Fausto's favorites here, Mankind, not really on the way down, more when it's on the way up. So, it is shortable. It's at the lows, and not really too much to write home about, though. All right, so folks, not to sound lazy here, but really to be transparent, there's not much else that's catching my eye on the losers list, unless if it's down really big, or unless if it's shortable. OEG is down really big, but it's not shortable. We can't short it. This looks like a really interesting opportunity on the way down, as it has been from the morning, from the get-go here. Given the range, this could be a bit of a dead cat bounce opportunity. Maybe, tomorrow, Friday, who knows? Keep it in mind. Write it down like on your notepad. All right, so I'll tell you. I'm going to check the chat board here. I don't see much else. Got one actually from Randy and Norman, double on OCGN. There we go. All right, beautiful. Definitely a familiar name, so caught my interest right away there. No real pop on this, or no real news on this. Oh, I lied. I'm sorry. Actually, news came out from 9:53 this morning. OCGN late Wednesday announced company is on track to submit emergency use authorization application for US FDA COVID-19 vaccine candidate. So, we've traded the stock in the past off of, vaccine headlines, right? We've seen the stock make a huge pop going back into April. I mean, even back from the beginning of this year, but it was more from like late April where we heard them become more of a name in terms of vaccine play, potential vaccines. So we ended up seeing them make a really nice pop and rally. I thought they were going to hold a lot more compared to where they ended up dropping down to. I thought on this dump off here, maybe we'd see like a higher low, another move back up in due time. Obviously didn't happen. I mean, I didn't swing trade that. I was just shooting from the hip saying over time, I would assume for this to, continue to be healthy and move up. Just didn't happen. And now today, I mean, more news regarding their COVID-19 vaccine, nice squeeze up so far here, obviously. Look to see what could happen, not even at 850. Watch what happens at 840. I have a weird feeling that this will kind of like break below 850, bounce off of 840, and then make its move. Just kind of loose thought there. But yeah, OCGN, great call. I like this from Randy and Norman. All right, Lynette, nice catch on BlackBerry, and pretty wise call to take the profits. It's getting too crazy. She got 83 cents. She was in from 1537. Excellent. Look at this thing go. From the time I went over this during the meeting, it was at like 1550-ish here at the time. Moved up over $1. This thing is going to lock up my screen, I'll tell you. This thing's shaking down so hard, it's like freezing up my level 2, my level 3. Probably wasn't too wise for me to turn to this trade here. All right, we're good. Ooh, that was a quick scare. All right, so I wanted to jump to a couple of stocks that I see from Benzinga Pro. Stocks otherwise that we have called out from earlier today, but now this KODK trade squeezing back up here. Broke out over $8.50, seemingly on the way up to, 9. There we go. Finally. So yeah, KODK still pretty interesting here. Familiar name from the past. Ended up making a kind of like a few pop and drop plays over the last year or so, right? Stock went from 8 all the way up to 60, ended up diving back down, ended up pumping and dumping back down here over several weeks or days across the last year. So again, not a swing trade is this KODK, but definitely more of a day trade. How about FSR, Fiskar, another EV stock, ended up moving up pretty nicely here today. I didn't really call this out as much from this morning, ended up kind of flying under our radar a bit. I just saw this pop up on Benzinga Pro. Nikola doesn't look as strong right now, just checking back in on some of the EV stocks there. Workhorse, same thing. But that Fiskar, it doesn't look too bad here, relatively slow, but still holding strong here at this time of the day. I'll tell you, I'm not going to look at Pets, the stock I kind of wrote on the side list there. At this point, we're pretty occupied with what we'll be watching so far. From P Trader on YouTube, there we go. Tilray, nice squeeze back up. Good call. Yeah, I was looking for this to make a much better hold off of 18. I ended up taking a couple of trades from 18 earlier today. I had about 25 cents on the first pop, and then I ended up jumping back in when it snapped back down. And I ended up wasting this profit here. I wanted a hell of a lot more, and now it's seemingly making that move now. So, yeah, good call, Tilray. We'll check out the pot sector altogether here. MJ pot stock ETF, kind of making a bounce back up here. SNDL, a little slow. It's cheap, so you can trade a lot of shares of it. And if this ends up panning out well, then of course it would be a really nice trade. But I'd rather focus on some of the others. So Tilray, good call. I like that. Everything else, I'll tell you, I mean, not really catching my eye as much as far as the other pot stocks. So, yeah, Tilray for right now. All right, so there was just one right there a moment ago. I ended up jumping to KOSS, K-O-S-S. This is also one back from late January when the Reddit stocks first moved up, GameStop, AMC, BlackBerry at the time, Bed Bath Beyond even. This ended up making the same type of squeeze. So, listen, I'm going to put this on our list, but this is not like a stock that most of us should be trading. If you consider yourself more of a level 4 to 5 trader, then I would say for you to trade this on your normal share size. Otherwise, if you want to, test the waters, just as Fausto would say, really just do it on one share, one share. If you want to do a couple shares, 10 shares, just low risk, just to get the feel for it. But we're in a marathon here, right? We're not in a sprint. So if you don't make good money on this trade, that's fine. We're going to find this trade probably at some point, if not tomorrow, then, Friday, then next week. And if it's not next week, we'll catch this stock again. If it's not this stock, then it'll be probably one of the others that we have from this list otherwise, right? We have a really big list going into this afternoon. So, we'll keep it at that, right? start with what you're most comfortable trading. That's what I'm pointing to. All right, folks. So for all of us on social media, Facebook Live, YouTube, first and foremost, I appreciate you sticking with me each and every afternoon. Make sure, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, notify right on our YouTube channel, that being youtube.com/cybertradingyou. And if you've yet to join us live inside the cyber group room yet, where just about 105 of us are right now, just feel free to join us. Go right down to the link on the banner below just to get started. For all of us there right now, like Leda and Lynette and Lewis, a lot of L's there, and Michael and Norman and Randy and Bonnie and all of our students live inside Cyber Group, just give me a quick moment. I'm going to post and tweet the picks. I'll be back on the mic pretty shortly, coming up right around like 3 o'clock, 3:05 Eastern. All right, I'll talk to you then.